Okay, good afternoon and welcome to APICS for lunch. Today we're stop, go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, think about your life for a second. Uh, isn't that sort of how it goes? You're working along and, everything goes and then it stops for a little while and, it's a daily schedule. You get home, kick off your shoes, cook your dinner if you need to, that kind of thing. So we're kind of used to that stop, stop, go uh, mentality. Before we get into it, you can start thinking about it, keep thinking about it. I just wanted to go back. The last time we met was in June, and you had these questions and ideas that you wanted to cover. And we covered the VUCA world and what's an anti-Spidey tool. If you missed that one, you got to understand Spidey. Uh, and then, so I thought the other three we did not get to. So I thought that we would start with those. The question was, is there, is there a trade-off, or how do you do a trade-off between standard and uh, standard operating procedures and flexibilities? And the answer, my answer to that is if your standard operating procedures are written correctly, they should include flexibility. But when we do that, we have to look at flexibility of what? Is it flexibility on when we can receive an order, flexibility on how quickly we can get that order processed, flexibility on how the process itself is going to work. So we sort of have to define what flexibility, how can we make it bigger, how can we make it smaller kind of things. And then what's the range of flexibility that can be accomplished? If we are a manufacturing company and we have a limited amount of supplies that we use and a limited number of operations that we can put in place, we can't then say, oh yeah, I can do that because we don't have material or we don't have a process that can do what they're asking us to do. That would be outside our range. And so we have to understand that flexibility does not include impossible. And so we have to look at this and say, what's possible, what's not possible. And then within that range of possible, how much of it is what we normally expect to live with. That's our standard, and we cover that with our standard operating procedures. If it falls outside of that, then it takes special handling. It takes special requirements. And so it isn't a trade-off necessarily, but our standard operating procedures need to say, we can do this, and we can do it across this range. But beyond that, we're going to have to do special handling. And so that isn't really flexibility. It's asking the system to do something that the system may possibly be able to do, but may not be able to do. So it's not impossible necessarily, but it may not be possible for us in the required time. I think it's an interesting question. So thank you, whoever came up with that. The second one, actually the fourth one on the list, was the future of relations between the USA and Mexico. And I think right now the current relations are fairly good. There are some areas where it really is pretty good, and we seem to be working well together. There are some other areas that we could spruce up and move from fair to good. Mexico has elected a new president. For those of you who don't know, I don't know that there's anybody that doesn't know, but if you don't, yeah, they have a new president. And we will have a new president in 7 weeks, maybe. Well, we will have a new president. We just don't know whether it will be Trump making a return. And if he does, I think that he will try to bully President Scheinbaum. I don't think it's going to go well for him. I'm married to a Jewish woman, have been for 38 years, 37 years, sorry. She wasn't around. She didn't hear me say that. You cannot bully a Jewish woman. They are not bully material. So it won't go well because she'll put him in his place. I have a feeling it will be a no BS relationship. I think if Harris gets elected, I think the two of them will get along quite well. Vice President Harris is married to a Jewish man. She's well aware of how the religion works, and that gives them a touch point. It gives them the beginnings of a relationship before the relationship actually starts. So I think it could be a remarkable change with two new women leaders of the countries. It'd be the first time it ever happened. But I think it would open the doors to some truly remarkable changes. The peso to dollar exchange rate, someone had asked about that, and it's gone up, which is not a good thing if you're working in the peso market. But then it came down, and it's in that, it's 19.1792, and that was as of I believe that's the July number. So it will vary. I think ultimately it will come down a little, but the dollar is still very strong on the international markets. And so I think it's going to stay fairly consistent. If you look at this graph, it's been, there's been ups and downs, but if you're looking for trend, the trend since 2015 has been just very slowly going up, and I think that it's going to be fairly stable. There's going to be the bumps and grinds. You can see that in the graph, but I think it'll be relatively stable. For those of you who've been here before, I'm fascinated with Waymo. Waymo is a robot taxi service, and they're currently in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, and in Phoenix, Arizona. We were in Phoenix over the weekend. My wife's uncle celebrated his 99th birthday, and so we went to Phoenix to be a part of that celebration. And I was driving, and they're all over the place. They're driving on I-10. They're on the streets in the city, and they offer door-to-door service. You call the Waymo number, and you give it the address, and it tells you, and you tell it where you want to go, and then it shows up. You go out, you get in the car, you tell it to go, and it goes to the address that you gave it, and you pay with your credit card, and you get out. And there's nobody in the car. And it drives away. It really freaked my wife out. She didn't know what it was. We were sitting at a traffic light, and I had seen them earlier, but she wasn't with me. And she was with me in the car, and this Waymo pulled up next to us. And she looked over, and there was no driver. And there was no seat. And she, what? And at that point, the light turned green and off he went. Uh, and she said, what is that? I said, that's a Waymo. I said, it's a robotic taxi cab. And she was freaked out before. She is really freaked out now. She's like, they're on the road, they're driving like that, and we're driving with them. I mean, what keeps them from killing us? They're better controlled than we are sometimes. But it really is interesting. This is what a Waymo taxi looks like, and all of those things that you see, the black blocks on the fenders and on the back and on the roof, that's the communication. It's the cameras. It's everything, because they have to look at traffic lights. They have to look at cars coming at them from all different directions, all of that, and that's all programmed, and they respond. And it's funny because I was being a bit slow in traffic, and they were whizzing right on by me. They were doing the speed limit. I was doing less than the speed limit. But they change lanes and do all of that. It's pretty cool, but yeah, it can be a little bit scary when you're looking out there. If you've ever been in a plant where they have computer guided vehicles or wire guided vehicles, you get a little bit used to it, because the vehicle will come up to you and say, "Excuse me, you're in my way," or something like that, or bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. Those are the dumb machines that haven't learned a language yet. So stop, go, stop, go. Nope, not a Waymo story, but that's a good place to start. If we look at I-10, not including West El Paso construction zone, I get to go to Las Cruces. Well, sometimes I get to go to Las Cruces because the construction is just amazing. But anyway, out on the east side, you've got the rebuilding of Montana. So you're sort of running into the same thing out there. But think about I-10. How do you get on the highway? And then how do you drive? And how do you get off? Right? You get on by getting onto an on-ramp, and you drive. You've got various lanes, and you can shift lanes to go at the speed you want to go. And for the most part, that works. It gets a little crowded, slows down a little. Nighttime, there's nobody else around. It goes really fast, but not too fast, because there are some people around and they would like to stop you and talk to you about whether or not you've been in a bar lately. But then how do you get off? Well, you have to prepare, and then you hit an off ramp and you get off, right? I mean, we all know this story. There's no surprise. So you're entering on ramps and you're using the off ramps. And what that does is it allows the flow of traffic to move without stopping. So we can get on, we can get off, we don't have to stop. Now compare that to what it's like to drive downtown in downtown El Paso, or on Mesa Street if you're on the west side, or Edgemere if you're on the east side. Stop, go, right? I mean, that's what you run into. It's stop and go, stop and go. Why? Traffic lights, right? You're driving, you hit a red light, you stop, you wait, turns green, you go. The light turns yellow, you go faster. But traffic is set up so that you're going one direction, you stop, cars can go in the other direction. And it allows greater flexibility for the drivers to get to where they're going, because you can't get to everywhere using an interstate. But the concept of on ramps and off ramps, rather than stops and starts is a good place when we start to look at how we can improve the flow of manufacturing, because this is how much of manufacturing is done. We start an order, we run the order, we stop, we do a changeover, we start an order, we run that order, we stop, we do a changeover. How can we avoid that? Or how can we reduce it to a point that makes our production smoother and gets us more product in the same amount of time? And so we can sort of equate this to the production. The red, stop, end of order. Yellow, prepare for the change to stop. Like I said, go like crazy, right? Prepare for the change to stop. And green, go, produce. Go, stop, go, stop. The order size then becomes part of it. Priority change becomes part of it. We're running part A, and all of a sudden part B becomes a priority, and we have to stop part A and put in part B and start up again. Or maybe there's a lack of material. We started the order, we thought we had everything, but we had an inventory error, we had a quality problem, something, a lack of material, and so we had to stop the order, and now we have to start some other order. Or maybe we have broken tooling. I mean, there are a lot of different reasons why we end up stopping an order. Besides, we finished the order, so now we're gonna change. So that's how it sort of equates to the traffic patterns with the stoplights and the go lights. So how could we build our on-ramps then for production? And this may be difficult. It may not work for everyone, but remember that we can make a right turn on yellow or red or green. We can always make a right turn. And in this state, some states you can't make a right turn on red, but here we can. So the traffic flows better when the lights are synchronized. Right? If you get if you're on Mesa coming from the valley headed toward the university, the lights are synchronized. So if you drive the speed limit and there isn't a lot of traffic ahead of you, so you don't have to slow down and stop for the traffic lights, you can go almost all the way without hitting a red light because they're synchronized. So how can we synchronize our shop orders and prepare for the change and have everything ready? Because a red light means change. If we hit a red light in manufacturing, that says we're going to have to change. Now, maybe we're going to take the workers and move them somewhere else, and then they're going to move back because there's another priority and we need them somewhere else. But that's part of manufacturing, right? I mean, the order isn't going to make itself, so we need to have people there to do that. So if we think of this, red light means change. Schedule your job changes around breaks. Avoid your high traffic times. Instead of, at 11 o'clock in the morning, everybody goes, okay, let's stop this order, start the next order. Wait a little bit. What time's lunch? Lunch is at noon. Let's run this order until 11:45, and then stop, clean it up. People go on break. They go to lunch. Can we get the setup done in the time that they're in lunch and get it started again? Maybe we can't get it all done, but we could get started. And so the downtime on the line is actually reduced to just a few minutes. Or maybe we could do it at end of shift, where we know that first shift is going to be ending. we stop the order, we get the line cleared, the new shift comes in, we load the new line, and away we go. We can do that. So one of the things that happens though is people say, well, yeah, but what about order completion? Because we've got this order. Is there a tolerance on order completion? If you have an order and it's out there for 100 pieces, is there like a 10%, plus or minus 10%? So you can run 90 or you can run 110 and still call it complete. Is there tolerance on that order? If there is, then that gives us a little more flexibility as far as the scheduling of the changeover. A few pieces more or less. Can the change wait for the break, or does it need to crash into traffic? Me being literal here. Can it wait? Can you take the time to wait for a break? Can we control it so that we can do that? Or does it absolutely have to happen now? Because if it has to happen, it's red light, time for change. Off ramps, how can we speed up that part of the process? Quick release devices to make the change faster, or prearranged trays or prearranged tooling that's in holders that make it quick and easy. I did a bunch of consulting for a company that did plastic molding, and one of the things we ran into was, and it was purely by accident. One of the setup men was complaining to me that his backpack that he kept his tools in was causing him backache because it was so heavy. And so I said, well, let's see what you got in there. And so we laid out his tools, and I said, okay, so how many of these do you use? He said, well, pretty much all of them. And I said, well, you've got a whole bunch of these and a whole bunch of those. And he said, yeah, well, for this machine, I need those. And for this machine over here, I need those. So it didn't take me long to go talk to the engineer and say, why do we have different size nuts and bolts holding these things together? And they said, well, that was just the way they were designed. I said, but can't we have one common size? Well, yeah, but what would that get us? Well, if they were one common size, you don't have to have one tool in your toolkit. and it would reduce the back fatigue that this Ford setup guy is, but it would also make the whole thing go faster. If you're not searching for the tool, you've got the tool and the tool works. That makes your devices change out, and you can get quick releases for a lot of different equipment. There's a whole industry around that. And then you can prearrange your trays and containers to set up for easy moves. Put them on roller carts and move them in. Have separate bins for each setup. Does it cost much? No. You can get it done, get it ready. I see a lot of companies where they keep things in bags, and they put them in bags rather than putting them in containers. Then that's fine. But when you're ready to put it on the line, it's easier if it's in a container with an open top, so that the operator isn't fighting his or her way through a plastic bag to get to the parts. The parts are there and easy to reach. Doesn't cost anything, actually costs you less to put them in the container, but you start to get what I'm talking about. How much does your production earn each day? And this is one of the ways that you start to get people interested in off-ramps. How much does your production earn each day? Let's say your plant earns, let's make the numbers round to make it easy for my mental math, but $100,000 a day. Okay, and just we'll say that a day is 10 hours. So you're making $10,000 an hour off the plant. If you have a line that's down for an hour, it costs you $10,000. How much of that $10,000 could you have saved if you built off ramps and on ramps and hastened? So instead of an hour, you're now using 10 minutes and it's costing you $100. How much is that worth? And so this is a way to start thinking about how you do things and how much it costs you to do things. Because if you can reduce the time, you can reduce the cost. The on-ramps and off-ramps speed the movement of traffic. And they do the same thing on the production floor with product moving through your operations. So start thinking about on-ramps and off-ramps for your production areas and for your warehouse. Same thing. You can have on-ramps and off-ramps there, queuing up the material, making sure that you've got good control over it. And if you need to buy equipment and devices or racks and things of that nature, put together a proposal and think about how much time is going to be saved and how much that time is worth. It's a good selling point. Last time, I did something that I normally don't do. I gave you some information, straightforward AI prompts, and I just gave you some advice. Keep them simple, straightforward, test each step, arrange them in a logical progression, test again, and then run your program and check the results. And I still think that these are good ways to do it, but I thought I would give you something more. So you won't find this in your notes. Hot fingers here. But I give you these as a gift for attending today. Here are 5 simple and effective commands you can use with Chat GPT or any of the AI tools that are out there. The first is just the word rephrase. You type in your prompt and then you type rephrase and hit enter. And what it does is it says to the AI system, I may not have asked you the right way. I may have screwed something up here. So you take this and rephrase it and then tell me what you think how I should have written it. And it will come back and it will tell you. It will take your prompt and it may give you the same prompt back. If it was a well-written prompt, it will give you the same prompt back and say there's no improvement available, or it will give you another prompt that will do the same thing but do it more effectively. So that's the first one. The second one uses that, rephrase and respond. Now, what this does is it tells the AI to do the rephrase, change my prompt, but then I want you to run it and give me the output. Now, you can also say rephrase and do not respond, in which case it will just rephrase and it won't even tell you that it rephrased. That one's one you're going to use somewhere in the midst of a program, not necessarily something you're going to use just at the start. The fourth one is rephrase and expand. And so what this does is it asks the AI to rewrite the prompt, but expand it beyond. If I have put limits on what I'm looking for, go ahead and change those limits out. So perhaps I said, I want to know all of the businesses in this city that start with the letter A. And you rephrased it, AI rephrased it, and would come back and say, it would be better to say it this way. But then rephrase and expand may give me all of the businesses that started with the letter A and the letter B and the letter C that are involved in the same businesses that only the letter A businesses were on the list to begin. So it just expands the scope of what you're asking for. And then you can say rephrase, expand, and respond, and this gets you everything. It will rephrase it, it will expand it, and then it will run it and give it back to you. Okay. Got a couple of notes. Just checking. Okay. So that gives you the whole kit and caboodle, everything that you could want this month in AI. Let me go back to that 1 second. If you're writing these down, and if you want the complete list, you can ask and ask Deanna, and she'll get you an updated copy of the PDF. I added this. I meant to do it last night, and then I didn't have the opportunity. So anyway, use these and have a good time with it. Now, there are some other things coming up. We're going to have a webinar about CTSC, which is certified in transformation of supply chains. That's the certification that went live last December. Several of us here got that certification, and we want to share because a lot of people don't know exactly what it is. We want to talk about that and share a little bit of what that's about. If you think you may have interest, come and join us October 10th at 5 p.m. We'll have a webinar about it and explain more about transformation. There's going to be a professional development meeting, also called a dinner meeting, with Omar Moya, our vice president, talking about the supply chain and the SCORE model. And that's the supply chain operational readiness model. He's going to be talking about that on October 24th. The next classes in coming up September 21st, which is like 2 days, like Saturday, there'll be the start of a CPIM, Certified in Planning and Inventory Management, in Juarez in Spanish. On October 19th, we will have the CSCP, Certified Supply Chain Professional. That'll be in El Paso in English. There may be a hybrid, but we're still negotiating. And on October 19th in Juarez, there'll be a presentation on buyer and inventory, and that will be in Spanish as well. We have these classes coming. Foundations are available, ASCM certificate classes, and of course the APICS certification classes, all out there. The DD Bricks workshop, we had one a few weeks ago in Juarez. We're going to have another one on February 15th. If you didn't have a chance, these are really good workshops. They're fun, and you learn something. So I guess that makes it kind of a double bang benefit. And then the Demand Driven Institute will be doing the planner on 329 and the leader on 426. So all of that coming up next year. We're planning out there in the distance. So thank you all so much for coming. Feedback is always welcome. Come and join us. Next, we'll be back in a month. We're back on schedule, or at least I think we are. That's my problem. So we'll see if we can't make that work.
All right, thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a
Hey,
good
thank
day.
you so much, Chester. Have a good one.
You're welcome, Antonio. I'll see you later today.
See you later.
Thank you, Chet.
Knox,
Gracias.
good to see you. Omar,
Thank you.
says he,
Thank you. Excellent presentation as always.
thank you.